This here is the Sioux 645L valve facer. See if I can get it to focus or not. 645L. Works pretty good. Got it at an auction. When I first found it, I was looking at it. None of these levers wanted to move. She was pretty tight. This here didn't want to go back and forth. All these ways down here. These here are the steel rods, or the round ways that this table, then there's a set underneath this table. They sit on it and then they ride back and forth on it. There was a lot of rust and a lot of gunked up oil on them. So every time you went to go move this, they didn't want to move. The chuck up here didn't want to move. Now it doesn't want to move because the belt and everything is on. So I had to take this all apart, clean it all up, oil everything. There's a stone here. The chuck is here, the quick release chuck. Had to take this all apart. The stone over here. This here is for the valve stem ends. Bring them into length, put a chamfer on them. This side over here is to do the face on them. Here's a bad valve here that I was playing around with. Already did the face on this one, just see how it would do. Works pretty good. Now it's just a matter of getting the rest of this rust off of here. Keep playing around with it, loosen up everything. There's a graduated dial down here that you can turn, but everything right now is so cold it doesn't want to turn. Down here is the on-off switch. Pull this out. This here is your engagement lever to move your table in and out. So as you bring the lever forward or towards the wheel, the chuck actually engages and starts spinning. And as you bring the lever back, it disengages. And this lever up here, you just pull it forward, releases the chuck in here so you can take your valve out, put your valve in. When you release it, it locks back onto it. It's kind of a neat little machine. I would guess it was probably made mid 50s to probably up into the 60s. Everything on here is pretty round, so that's kind of an indication about the time that they made it. You got all the numbers up here for your valve grinding wheel, different wheels, plunge grind, grinding wheels, diamond, grinding oil, soluble oil, belts. Gives you all the numbers up here for it. Gives you directions down here how to go through and dress all your wheels. This here is to do the valve stems. So you loosen this here up. You put your valve stem in there. And you grab a valve. Sits down here in this little V, then you just tighten this here back down. Kind of hard to do with one hand, so I'm not going to do it. This here lever down here, there's a diamond tip at the end of this bolt. So what you can do is bring this up, get it really, really close. See if I can see down in here. Get it really, really close. Then you turn the machine on, and then obviously with both hands, you move this here back and forth across the stone while you're cranking this handle here in. And this one over here is the same way. There's a lock handle here, a lock handle here. Bring this out into position within reason. Tighten this here back down. Tighten this here back down. Start bringing this over, and what I normally do, I bring this in so it's really, really close. Not touching, but really, really close. kind of hard to see down in there. And you turn the machine on, you need to sit here, just go back and forth, straightens all your stones back out. And then when you're done, you get ready to start doing your valves. You loosen this here all back up, slide this back out of your way, tighten this back down so it can't come around, tighten this here down, put your valve in, start going back and forth making your valve faces. This is actually supposed to be coolant for your wheels on both sides. This actually turns, and you got a hose that comes down. It's a steel hose that comes down and it goes down on top of your valve stem. Bring it over here to this side. It comes over and comes down on top of your valve face, so when you're grinding it doesn't overheat the valve, take the temper back out of your valves. Up here you got your little handle up here for turning the fluid off and on. I don't have this hooked up. I did not get it with the machine. The whole reservoir in the back, if we can see back here, this here is all missing. This here is part of the pump hose. This here actually sits down like a reservoir. But this here has a pump on it, and then it pulls the oil up, comes up through here, and then whatever direction you have this facing is whatever stone it goes to. There is some accessories for this. I do not have them. Apparently you can do rocker arms on it. So the old style rocker arms, you can put the bevel back on them. Whole bunch of other stuff. There's gauges. So when you do your valve stem on here, you can put a gauge on the back side here, come out and around. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I have a dial indicator that's got a round rod on it. I'm going to come out and around, bring a dial indicator in so I can tell how much I'm taking off. But on these old hit and miss engines, that really don't much matter. That only really matters when you're working on cars, because your rocker arms and everything, you got to have all your valve stems the right length. But on these old hit and miss engines, it really don't matter. Typically what they would do is either thread these, put a nut on them, or if it's on the exhaust side, they would just snip it off, and then you got whatever they gave you. A lot of little oil ports on this. This here's an oil port. This here's a little ball oiler down here. There's a couple other ones. There's one down underneath here. I don't know if you can see that in there. There's one up here. One back here. There's one up here. This one here's missing the lid, but I'm just going to shove a Q-tip in there for now to keep all this grinding dust from going down in there. Take this shield here off, this upper shield. Down underneath here, there's 4 of them in a big plate. And that oils the round rods that everything here sits on. And then over here on this side, there was one floating around. Yep, it sits right here. It's dirty. I got to clean this here all up yet. But there's one that sits into here, and I don't think there's one on here. I think it's grease that actually gets put into here, because you only use this one here to dress the wheel. This one here is actually doing the work for the valve stem. So it's this one here that you'd be more worried about. So yeah, for probably 150 pounds, maybe 200 pounds, this thing's a little beast for what it is. Works pretty good. Kind of neat.